Oh, I hope that didn't get on the recording. What's up? What's up? What's up, you guys? Welcome to the Proverbs 31 Educator. And listen, if you look at your recap emails, if you look at all the emails that I have sent you thus far, the one constant is that I was calling this a challenge. However, as I was really diving into the content for this week, this is not a challenge. Y'all, this is going to be an experience, okay? So, we are not doing the Proverbs 31 Educator Challenge, okay? We are doing the Proverbs 31 Educator Experience because this right here is about to be an experience. And I am so excited that you have decided to come along on this journey with me. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and jump in because we don't have any time to waste. Now, we are live right now in the Facebook group, and we are also live on YouTube. So you can go either to YouTube or to the Facebook group and watch this live, comment live. When I see your comments pop up, I plan on sharing them with the rest of the group. So make sure that you are commenting, that you are engaging, and that you are ready for all that is about to go down. Okay? It's about to go down. So if you are ready, if you're watching the replay, or if you're here with me live, if you are ready, I want you to drop a ready in the chat, okay? Drop a ready in the chat. So let's dive all the way into this content, okay? So I wanted to start this evening talking a little bit about my journey, how we got here, where we are going this week, and how I personally was able to step into becoming this Proverbs 31 educator. Okay. So for me, I'm not new to this when it comes to education. In all honesty, I'm true to this. Okay. So my journey in education does not begin with me. It doesn't begin with me. As a matter of fact, it began long before me. And it started with my grandfather, whose name was Fernando Brown. Now, let me tell you about Fernando Brown, okay? That is my daddy's name as well, and it is my brother's name. It is a strong name. But my granddaddy, Fernando, he was a head teacher. And he was the very first principal at an elementary school right here in Richmond, Virginia in the 1940s. After that, he went on to continue to empower educators in various capacities. Okay. So again, this was in the 40s. So it's 2024. We're talking almost 80 years ago, or about 80. Well, excuse me, more than 80 years ago. Okay. I also want to introduce you to my grandmother. Okay. Her name was Shirley Motley Brown. And my grandmother was a cafeteria manager in a school, again, here in Richmond, Virginia. But she too decided that she was going to be an educator. And she later taught home economics classes to students with disabilities. And the third person on this journey is Lucille Mary Brown, who is a pioneer in education right here in the Richmond area. She has empowered many educators as a teacher, as a principal, as an assistant superintendent, and as a superintendent, all right here in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, more specifically. I had to start with these trailblazing individuals because when I talk about my journey in education, my journey as an educator, my journey to empowerment, it starts with these folks right here. But not only that, my mom worked in the school system for 30 years. My maternal grandmother was a preschool teacher for a little bit. And I just have a whole host of educators in my family. So when I tell you we are not new to this, we are true to this, that is what I mean. We are all the way in the game, okay? So let's keep going. A little bit more about me. So this picture here shows you my journey in education and where it got its beginnings. Well, close to the beginning. I started in education as a kindergarten teacher. And I taught inclusion that year. I was pretty decent at what I was doing, but I have these three other individuals on this in this picture with me because I had the best team ever. They were the bomb.com. They were the definition of the bomb.com, okay? They were amazing as a team, and we were amazing as a team together. So I started here teaching kindergarten, later moved. And while I moved on, I was killing it in the education game. However, there was something happening on the inside of me. So, yes, I had my big jewelry. Some things don't change. Yes, I had a smile on my face and an afro. Yes, there was always some type, and still is, some type of fun prop in my hand. And I was looking like I was doing well on the outside, but on the inside, your girl was tired. She was burnt out. It was a lot going on. We'll get to a little bit more of that in a second. And so here we are now. And I put this picture right here because, again, of me and little Aaliyah, who has now gone on to graduate from high school. She graduated last year. Again, because when I tell you I'm not new to this, I'm true to this. I am true to this work. And over the years, I have led more than 1,000 teachers in professional development. I have coached over 100 educators one-on-one or in small group to help them enhance their skills. And I've been doing a district and direct coaching and consulting through online workshops like these and professional learning communities for about 5 years now. So this is kind of a look at what is happening in my career. But as deciding to step into the Proverbs 31 educator and the framework that I've created based on that scripture, there are a few other things that have happened for me. The first one being time freedom. Listen, I finally have a margin in my day. I can leave work at dismissal, which is unheard of, without feeling guilt. I can be fully present for the life that I've been praying for, not just for the job that I am paid for. I also experience more financial ease because I'm able to show up and work in my business and build a business that is aligned with my purpose and who I am created to be. Okay. Again, talking about my business, it has allowed me to walk in purpose-driven impact. My business reflects who I am. I don't have to hustle. I can operate from a place of clarity, calling, and conviction. And then increased visibility and influence. Now, look, I know y'all don't see me on the gram like that, but if you on my email list, we chat all the time. Maybe not chat all the time, but you hear from me all the time. And that's because I have aligned with my God-given assignment. And as you do that, and as I've done that externally, different doors and opportunities have started to arise for me. So let's talk about the internal. So that's what's happening on the external, on the outside. What's happening on the inside? On the inside, I have more peace and clarity on my purpose. I don't question what I bring to the table. I am clear on who I was created to serve and how I was created to serve them. I wake up every day knowing that my work has impact. I am able to be more present and joyful as the mother of those two boys, one of them being a high school student and the other one being a kindergartner. Have mercy. And I am able to have healthier boundaries when I'm at work. So listen, I work at two schools, right? So even though I'm building a business, yes, I still work full time as an educator. And I work at two schools as a math coach. And when you work at two schools as a math coach, you have to have, or if in any capacity, you have to have specific boundaries in place so that you can have greater harmony. Let me tell you a quick story. So yesterday I was chilling, right? And I had a text message that I got from a teacher at one of my schools. And she was like, "Hey, I'm about to send you an email." And I had to tell her, "Hey, that's great. I'm excited about this email that you're about to send me. However, I am not going to see it until tomorrow. So don't expect a response from me or for me to even desegregate what this email is saying until tomorrow. Because again, I have those boundaries in place that are going to help me to create more balance, if you will, and harmony in my life." And then finally, I have internally more confidence in what it is that I was called to do. I am no longer doubting myself. Do I shrink? Sometimes. But I have no doubt in who it is that I was created to be, who I am called to serve, and how I serve them so that I can show up in a way that is bold. Okay. So let's talk about the Proverbs 31 educator. So I want to walk you through this roadmap. And each stage is going to reflect a different mindset, behavior pattern, and spiritual posture. The further you move along the path, the more you are in line with the Proverbs 31 educator who operates in purpose with peace, wisdom, and abundance. So I want you to look at each part of the roadmap, and I'm going to ask you to drop in the comment section or in the chat which of these aligns most with who you are and where you see yourself. So the first one is the exhausted educator. Listen, sis is overwhelmed, she's undervalued, and she feels unseen. Now, she hasn't quite figured out how to say no yet, so she's saying yes to everything and everybody except for her, who she really need to be saying yes to. She's constantly questioning, am I really called to do this? And the answer is yes, sis, you are. She has zero margin and her tank is always on E. She is struggling with guilt when taking time for self-care. And she believes some of the lies that sound like this: if I stop, everything will fall apart. I don't have time to prioritize me. I have to earn rest. And what she really needs is just permission to pause and reset. If that sounds like you, drop a 1 in the chat or in the comment section. If that sounds like you, drop me a 1 in the comment section. All right, let's move on to number two. Let's move on to number two. This might be you. If the first one wasn't you, then this one might be you. And this is the person that is doing the work behind the scenes, but she is seen, heard, she's not seen, excuse me, she's not heard and not valued. She leads quietly, but on the inside, she's feeling unrecognized. She struggles with comparison, imposter syndrome, gives to others, but hasn't figured out how to pour into herself, knowing that she's capable of more, but self-doubt is still creeping in. If that sounds like you, drop a 2 in the chat. Drop a 2 in the chat. And then there's educator number 3, the awakening woman. She is aware that something has to change, but she's hungry for more balance, more joy, and more purpose. She's tired of surviving and ready to start thriving. She's ready to start implementing boundaries. She's been trying to implement those boundaries, but guess what? She keeps slipping and saying no, which allows her to, or which makes her to feel guilty. She knows what she wants, but is unsure of what that more might look like. And then finally, we have the virtuous educator. She is clear on her assignment and her values. She leads with grace and authority. She protects her peace like it's part of her calling. She pours from overflow, not obligation. She mentors, inspires, and multiplies her impact. If that sounds like you, drop a 4 in the chat. So wherever you are on this journey, I want you to drop a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4 in the chat so we can kind of see where you are. Okay. So now that I've walked you through my personal journey, and I've walked you through the Proverbs 31 educator. Let's dive into everything that we are going to be talking about this week. I'm excited. But before I do that, I want to make sure that I invite you to upgrade your seat today to VIP this whole week. And so when you upgrade to VIP, you're going to get a live Q&A session with me each night starting tonight. And we're going to be on Zoom together. You're going to get 30 days access to the replay of each session. And I just threw this in there. So if you've seen the VIP link already, you were like, this wasn't on there. No, it wasn't. But I just added this. And that is a 20-minute one-on-one coaching session with me. You've already said yes to showing up, and I am so proud of you that you are here, that you are ready for this experience this week. But I want you to give yourself permission to go deeper, and VIP is that permission to go deeper. So let's talk about what we're going to be talking about each day of this experience. Listen, we're not calling it a challenge no more. I mean, it was a challenge, but now it's not a challenge. This is the Proverbs 31 educator experience. Okay, let's get into it. Day 1 today, we're talking all about knowing your worth. We are kicking it off with the foundation, talking about your mindset and knowing your worth. We're going to shatter the myths that say your value is tied to your title, your productivity, or your performance. You'll be reminded tonight that God called you worthy before you even earned your first paycheck. Sorry, I was about to get all in the screen. Let me bring it on back. Tomorrow, day 2, we're talking all about trusting the process. We're going to talk about what it means to remain faithful even in the waiting season. Whether you're feeling stuck, you're feeling overlooked, you're unclear about what's next, Day 2 is all about building confidence in God's timing and trusting that you are being prepared for something greater. On day 3, we're going to dive in how you can serve with excellence. It's all about showing up well, but not at your own expense. Because listen, taking care of you, taking care of yourself, that's a form of stewardship. Okay. And so the Bible reminds us that we should be good stewards of all that God has given to us, and that includes yourself. And you'll learn how to serve intentionally, both at work and at home, without falling into burnout or people pleasing, because we're doing purpose for the rest of 2025, sis. We're not doing perfection. We're doing purpose. On day 4, we're going to look at vision and victory, and we're going to dream big and get practical. You're going to get clarity about where you're going, and we're going to start connecting the dots between your career, your calling, and your personal life so you can move forward with intention. And then there's day 5, which is all about being equipped and empowered to serve. We're going to focus again on stewardship. You already have everything that you need. You just got to use it wisely, okay? And we're going to talk about managing your time, your energy, and your mindset, just like the Proverbs 31 educator. Now, let me give you a quick breakdown of how this week will run so you don't miss a thing. Each day, all 5 of these days right here, included today, we're going live at 7, except for tomorrow, which I'm going to push it back just a little bit because I got to take the big child to rehearsal. You're going to have daily homework, and you'll get a challenge each day at the end of our live session. So when this is over tomorrow, when this is over, I got your homework ready for you. She ready. If you decide to upgrade to VIP, we're going to meet live in the Zoom room each evening. You should have received that link in your email as soon as our general session ends. This is where you have the opportunity to go deeper, answer your personal questions, and I'm going to coach you in real time. Also, I'm going to share at the end of the week how you can work more closely with me, but that won't come until later in the week. If you think you are ready, listen, if you think you are ready now, you can reach out to me at carmen@carmendbrown.com. And listen, don't forget to invite a friend. If this experience blesses you in any way, don't keep it to yourself. Send them the registration link so they don't miss out on their own blessing, okay? And even if they don't register, you can send them to my YouTube channel because I'm broadcasting this live, yes, in the Facebook group, but I am also broadcasting this live on YouTube as well. So they can watch here or they can watch there, as long as they get their breakthrough, okay? So if you are ready to dive in, I want to first remind you of this. When you know your worth, you trust God's process, and lead with intention, you don't just survive the calling, you thrive in it. And that's what I want us to focus on, is to trust in God's process, knowing your worth, leading with intention so that you can thrive. So let's get down with day number 1, becoming her, the Proverbs 31 educator. Today's topic is all about knowing your worth. In our anchor scripture, we are coming from Proverbs 31:10 this evening. I want us to look at this core idea, and this is the core idea that is going to guide our conversation for the rest of the evening. As a Proverbs 31 educator, you have to know your value and your worth. The Proverbs 31 educator also reminds herself what she brings to the table. Listen, she doesn't need any form of external validation, okay? She knows it for herself. And so this is what I want you to focus on tonight. And this is what we're going to get into and what I'm going to be teaching you this evening. You've got to know your worth and what you bring to the table. Don't worry about if anybody else sees it. It doesn't matter if they see it or not. It only matters if you see it. And again, this is our anchor scripture for the night. Proverbs 31:10. A wife of noble character who can find? She is worth far more than rubies. She is worth far more than rubies. So this is where we are going this evening. By the end of today, you are going to dismantle the myths that have shaped how you see your worth as a woman and an educator. You are going to clarify the difference between your God-given identity and your role-based identity. You are going to reconnect with your gifts, strengths, and spiritual value outside of your title or your to-do list. And you're going to take your first bold step toward becoming the Proverbs 31 educator, living from worth, not weariness. Before we can dive into what this all means, what I want to do is I want to break open and dismantle some common myths that you have or that you may have that educators have around their value. Myth number one: my work is tied to my productivity. So many of us are praised consistently for all the things that we do, the many hats we wear, how selfless we are because we want to take care of everybody else over ourselves, so that we start to believe that if we're not constantly on the go, if we're not constantly in go mode, then we lose our value. Myth number two: we can over deliver or say yes to everything and work twice as hard just to be seen, because we think that it is selfish to prioritize ourselves. Excuse me. Myth number three: you've been told that you have to prove your value in order to be respected. You've been told that being a good teacher, or a good woman of faith means putting everyone else and proving your value, even if it means that at some point you lose yourself. And number four: you have been made to feel disposable in your role. It is a system that doesn't always honor your presence, your gifts, or your contributions. And finally, myth number five: you might believe that if I were really valuable, I wouldn't be struggling. You have equated ease with worth, believing that struggling is a sign of failure, or that it is a sign of being less than. So these are five myths. I want to break these myths wide open because, again, they are myths, which means, honey, they ain't true. They're not true. So the first one is this: instead of thinking that your worth is tied to your productivity, I want you to shift that belief, because here's your reality. Your worth isn't earned. It's inherent. It's inside of you already. You were deemed worthy before you were even put in your mother's womb. So you can't earn your worth. Therefore, it is not tied to your productivity. Therefore, you don't have to race around like a crazy mad woman in order to show that you are worthy. Number two: it's selfish to prioritize myself. Listen, I said it a few minutes ago. Self-love is not selfish. It's not. It ain't selfish. Self-love is a form of stewardship. The Bible reminds us that we've got to take care of all the things that God has given us. So if we're taking care of all the things that God has given us, then guess what? That means you, because God created you. You are his creation. And because he created you, that means that you have to take care of yourself. You've got to be a good steward over yourself, in addition to the things that he has given you. And that starts with prioritizing yourself and prioritizing your self-care. Let me get in close. Let me get in close real quick. Listen, I need us as Black women educators, to start taking care of ourselves. You cannot thrive. You will be in full-blown survival mode if you keep trying to take care of everybody else above yourself. Listen, stewardship. Self-care is stewardship. You cannot serve and give your all, but you cannot serve if you are giving all of you to everybody else, because you really have nothing else to give. I need you to give to you first, and then you can pour into other people. Okay, back to the slide deck. Myth number 3 was, I have to prove my value to be respected. Your value is not up for debate. Don't let anybody tell you that it is. It is not up for debate. Okay? You are fearfully and wonderfully made, and you don't need external validation from anybody, inside or outside. You don't need that validation in order to be validated or to be of value. You need to validate yourself. Nobody else can tell you that you are the ish, but you are, okay? Again, you were fearfully and wonderfully made, period. Full stop in the sentence. Number 4, the myth was, I am replaceable in my role. Listen. Cool. The truth is that you absolutely could have a job today and it be gone tomorrow. How many of you have seen the news? Okay. The education system is in a whirlwind right now. There is chaos everywhere. But guess who is the author of chaos and confusion? It's the enemy. So he wants us scared. He wants you to have anxiety about being replaceable in your role. But let me tell you something. Your presence is powerful. They can sure enough find somebody to do your job, but what they can't do, let me get in close again. Yes, they can find somebody to do your job, but no, they can't find anybody to do it like you, because you have the secret sauce that nobody else has, okay? You have this secret sauce that nobody else has, and nobody has it like you. Back to the slide deck, sorry. And so your presence is powerful. And so you're going to take that, even if they decided tomorrow that your role, that they were going to do whatever with your role, that is okay. Because you can do things the way that nobody else can. And that's because you have a skill set. And you were created in a way that everything about you is powerful. Your presence is powerful. So I need you to remember that. You are not replaceable. They can put somebody else in your job, but what they can't do is put somebody else in your job that's going to do it the way that you did it and with the grace and serve in the way that you served. And finally, our last reality is this. Our myth was, if I were really valuable, I wouldn't be struggling. Listen, Think about all the powerful women that you know that were in the Bible. Even the most powerful women in the word had moments of lack. They were stuck in a waiting season. They experienced some form of warfare. Just because you are in a valley does not mean that your value is diminished. You might be in the valley. You might be. But that doesn't diminish who you are and what you bring to the table. All right. Let me take a sip of my coffee. I'm going to be up all night. You cannot walk in divine confidence if you don't know your God-given value. You cannot walk in divine confidence if you don't know your God-given value. All right, so now that we've busted some of these big myths wide open about our worth, let's go a little bit deeper. Because here's the thing. Again, just like this quote says, you cannot walk in confidence if you don't know your value. The world is going to try to define your worth by a couple of things. What are they? Your data. We about to get into testing season. The number of degrees you have. You mean you don't got that doctorate yet? Or how quiet you keep during the staff meeting. But God has already stamped your value before you were even formed in your mother's womb. So your value is not based on a test score. Your value is not based on the number of degrees or letters behind your name. Your value is not based on how many times you raise your hand in a staff meeting or on a Zoom meeting. Your value is not even tied to the depth of your lesson plans. Okay, because your value was already formed. God already knew the value that He was going to give you before you even took your first breath in this world. So let me tell you a secret. And the picture kind of gives it away. So let's talk about the secret. And this might be the secret that changes everything for you. The word says in Proverbs 31 that she is far more precious than rubies. Let me tell you about rubies. Okay, and I felt like this was interesting. Rubies are rare. Okay. You cannot just go into, I don't know, Kroger. I know we're boycotting Target and we're boycotting Walmart. So we can't go into Kroger. We can't go, I think we boycotted Amazon too, but we can't go on there. Maybe you can't go on Amazon. Oh. These Easter eggs in the iMac camera made the balloons come up. Okay, I'm sorry. You can't grow in Kroger. You can't go in Walmart. You can't go in Target. You can't go in Aldi. You can't go in Trader Joe's. None of these places where you shop, you cannot go to any of these places and just see precious rubies hanging out on the shelves. I can't just go pick up one because it's Monday at 7:40 and that's what I feel like doing. They're not sitting on the shelves at every store. They have to be mined for. They have to be dug up. They have to be protected because of how valuable they are. That's you. That's you. You're not common. You're not easily replaceable. You're not average. You are an asset to every room that you walk into. So some of us are math people, okay? Because put on my math coach hat for just a second. All of us, okay, are math people. That's just how it is. We're math people because are you a person? You have to do math. you're a math person. But some of us need some numbers in the mix. So let's attach a monetary value to it. Here it is. So I went on Google, right? And I looked up the price of a ruby. They price rubies at a certain amount per carat. That can cost upward of $100,000 each. That's $100,000 each carat. And the word reminds us that you, yes, you, whether you feel like it or not, you are more valuable than even that ruby that costs upward of 100,000 per carat. Yet, we out here shrinking. We out here letting other people validate what we are worth, and we don't have to do that because the word has told us that we are so much more valuable than the $100,000 per carat ruby. Now, why is this a secret? Now, it's a secret for a couple of reasons. Number one, half of us don't believe that we are that valuable, but we are. Number two, it's a secret because some of us are not going to pick up our word, or so many of us, so many people are not going to pick up their word and find this in the word. And because it's hidden in the Bible, people are missing out on their blessing and knowing their worth, their true worth, how much, what God said they were worth. All right, let's keep going. So I want you to take a moment to think about what you carry. Listen, I took my badge off right before I got on here because I got home a little late today. Not the title on your badge, not your teacher evaluation score, not the number of years you've been in education, but the anointing that you carry. I want you to think about the favor that follows you. And let's ask some questions. Number one, these are things I want you to think about. What, and if you're watching the replay, or when you watch the replay of this video, you can pause, get your journal out, get your pen out. You can pause after and answer each question as you go along. But number one, what are the gifts and strengths that God has placed uniquely in you? And I want you to think beyond your resume. What do people always come to you for? What do you do effortlessly? I also want you to think about your core values. I want to know, what impact have you made in your classroom, in your school, or your community that we cannot measure with data? So listen, I am a data girl. I love some data. I spent my entire day today digging into data. But I want to know, what is the impact that you have had that can't be measured with numbers, that can't be measured with data? What is that number? What does that look like for you? I want to know, what affirmations does God speak over you in the word? When you're reading your Bible, how does God affirm you? Not the title the world gives you, but the ones that heaven knows you by. What evidence do you have that you were called to the work that you are doing and not just hired? Your presence is a divine placement. It is not a coincidence. I want to know, what does it feel like when you're operating in alignment with your purpose? Confidence is born from clarity. Confidence is born from clarity. So I need you to get clear on all of these things. Now, let's talk about the silent killer of our confidence. It's causing us to hide. Whew, listen. Do you know what the silent killer of your confidence is? If you know what it is, drop it in the chat. I'm going to wait a second, see if we get some responses. What is the silent killer of your confidence? Okay. The silent killer of your confidence is comparison. Listen, I know without a doubt what it's like to scroll through Instagram or sit in a staff meeting and start shrinking in my seat. You see somebody else thriving, leading, or walking boldly, and you start to question what you bring. Listen, I used to be the person in the staff meetings who was always raising their hand, who was always speaking out, who was always asking questions. And then one day I had a principal who looked at me and she said, no. She said, just no, shut up. Don't talk. And so after that, I started to shrink. But I want you to know something. There is no competition in the kingdom, only assignments. And if it's not in your assignment, it's not your lane. That means you don't need to copy somebody else's strategy, somebody else's voice, or somebody else's journey. Let's talk about this silent killer. Comparison keeps you performing. And when I say it keeps you performing, I mean that it keeps you always hustling, always on the go, always doing this, always, when you could take some time to yourself and rest and relax. Comparison also keeps you second guessing your anointing. You already know what you were called to do. You already know it. It's already inside of you. It's been inside of you since you were born. I can look at my 6-year-old and tell you exactly what it is that he's going to do. And I started to see it before he turned 2, before he could even talk. It's already inside of you. You already know what it is. Yet comparison and looking at it, what other people are doing, is keeping you second guessing that calling, second guessing that anointing. The other thing that comparison does is that it keeps you shrinking. You see somebody else doing XYZ and they're doing it great, yet you're not there yet. You're comparing your level 1 to their level 273. And because you're not at the same place as them, but you're looking at what they are doing, you start to shrink. But just like you would tell your students or any student that you come across, just like you would let them know, this is what I'm telling you. I need you to keep your eyes on your own paper. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Look at your paper. Don't look at their paper. Keep your eyes focused on where you are and where God is leading you to. Because if you have your eyes on somebody else's paper, you're going to get distracted. You're going to get distracted. So let's talk about how we can shift from comparison to confidence. And that is going to require a mindset shift, a couple of mindset shifts. So let's talk about what they are. Mindset shift number 1, comparison tells us, or comparison has us thinking, she's better than me. She's better than me. But honey, she is not better than you. If God did it for her, he can do it for you or do it for me. Listen, again, we are comparing our level 1 or 3 to somebody else's level 30. And Instead of getting upset about what God is doing in somebody else's life, just know that he blessed your sister so he can bless you too. Number 2, comparison will have you feeling like, as you're looking at your colleagues, as you're looking at data in staff meetings, comparison will have you thinking that your students are behind. But the truth is, your students are right on time for where God needs them, and he has you teaching them in that moment for a reason. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in that things happen for a reason. Providence. Comparison will have you saying, I wish I had what she had. I want that. When instead, I need you to switch that to God has given me what I am supposed to have. And again, you are going to be a good steward of all of it. Comparison will have you saying, they don't see me. They don't see me. Oh, they don't see me. When all you need to worry about is the fact that God sees you. And that's enough. God sees you. And that's who needs to see you. When it comes to becoming the Proverbs 31 educator, here is a big secret for you. And don't go telling everybody I told you this. Can you keep a secret? You got to invite them in for them to know. When it comes to becoming the Proverbs 31 educator, here's the big secret of the entire week. You are already her. You are already her. So let's do a quick recap. Your worth was determined by God. Not your title, not your to-do list, or your test scores. It was determined before you were in your mother's womb. Not by your title, not by your to-do list or your test scores. You are far more precious than rubies, and that value cannot be negotiated. Comparison is a distraction, not a destination. It's time for you to keep your eyes on your own paper so that you can live and lead with your God-given value. You don't have to compete. You've been called. Confidence comes when we stay in our own lane. And finally, you're not becoming the Proverbs 31 educator. You are already her. She lives within you. I just need you to show up and act like it. Let's talk about homework, you guys. So your homework for tonight, day 1 homework, I want you to create a list of your values. I want you to identify your strengths and your contributions. List at least 10 strengths, skills, and qualities that make you valuable as an educator and a woman of faith. And then I want you to identify 3 limiting beliefs that are holding you back from fully knowing your worth. Come up with a list of ways that you can reframe those limiting beliefs and share your responses in the Facebook group so that you can encourage others and so that you can get some feedback from me or from other people in the group. So I'm going to switch back to just me. All right, y'all. So that is day 1 of becoming her, the Proverbs 31 educator. That was so fun. And I am so excited about you knowing your worth and truly understanding and believing who God created you to be. So here's what I need you to do. Number 1, go do your homework. Number 2, invite a friend so that they can get their breakthrough and their blessing right along with you. Tomorrow night, we are talking about trusting the process. And this is such an important conversation right now with the state of this world and the state of education, because so many people are scared about what their jobs are going to look like next year. When instead of living in fear about what your job is going to look like, I need you to trust the process. And we're going to talk about that more tomorrow. And I'm going to share more of my own personal story with you tomorrow, all around trusting the process. All right. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, or like I said, drop it in the Facebook group. I will see you tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow, and I'll see you in the Facebook group. See you soon. See you soon.